Hey guys, you're back again with Arbiter for another one of my tutorials. This is the second part of the Stargate tutorial that I'm making because the last one, because my video editing software cut about half the video out, which is just no good. And then my PC broke and I had a whole lot of crap happen, so... Oh yeah, and I've been getting drunk, as one does. Okay then, so moving on to Stargate here. Just to refresh your memory, Stargates have a 6-digit address, which can be alphanumeric characters or uppercase, or the @ symbol. Expanding on this a little bit, using the E method on the gate, there's a little box here, and that ticks if it's this kind of SG1 gate, the old type of gate as opposed to the Atlantis one. If that box is unchecked, it'll take... It's like a kind of a slow dialing process, and you can see it's really taking ages, and that's a bit more true to the TV show, but it's obviously pretty crap if you want to do things fast. On top of this, there is a whole lot of other stuff to do with the Stargate add-ons. There's Asgard transporters and ring controllers and ring transporters. I'll go through it all now. And there's the Stargate tab here. So first of all, I'm going to go through ring transporters because they're kind of the same thing. So deleting those two Stargates, I'm going to spawn. If you spawn a ring transporter in the entities, you see it's kind of like a saw blade, and you can set an address. Usually, if you're only using 2 on an entire map, then it's fine just to leave an unset address. But I'm going to name this ring 01, and it's all in lowercase. And then you can drop this on the floor, and kind of when you're not looking at it, it goes kind of transparent. I'm not sure if you can see that or not, but it kind of disappears a bit. And I'm going to spawn another one along here, and that's going to be ring 02. And then, for the sake of it, I'm going to run across this other side of this field and spawn another one, and I'm going to call this ring 03. So, to illustrate, you can use ring transporters in a few ways. There's the ring control pad, which you're supposed to mount to a wall nearby the ring transporter, and you go up to that and you press E. Now what you can do on this screen, you can enter the address on your keyboard of what the rings are, or you could find range, which says there, if checked, rings will seek ground within 100 and blah blah blah. Or else, so basically it finds the closest set of rings. So if I just tick that and press dial, it starts to, you can see the rings come up now, and I should hopefully be teleported to the other side of the field. See, I'm over there. Now, the problem with this is, obviously it'll just go to the closest one, so if I was to use it now, I'd just go there. You can also activate ring transporters with the weapons tab, and you can use, in the Stargate section, a hand device or a ring caller. Right, so I've got my ring caller device here, and as you can see in the corner it says primary call nearest rings or secondary open dial menu. So those are your mouse buttons, so if I press open, there's the dial menu again, and if I was to just left click with the gun in my hand, there. And you can see it's going over there. So these are kind of smaller versions of Stargates. They can just teleport over, I think it's short ranges, but I think they might just be able to do over whole maps. But if I was to just demonstrate a downside of this, whereas Stargate's only one way, on these you can... There's a white combine and a black combine, and you can just see that if you transport the rings there, that they get teleported both ways. So whoever's, like, if you dial in somewhere and someone's standing there, they'll go to where you've come from, and vice versa. They'll just swap places. Whereas Stargates are just all one way. And obviously, if you wanted to dial a specific one instead of the closest one, just open the dial menu, which isn't working, and then you can just type in the address of the one you're going to. But obviously, you'd have to know its name. So moving on, we've got drones. The drone weapon is from the Atlantis series. It fires a missile type thing, and as you can see on the keyboard here, it's got keypad controls to use it. So if I'm going to plant this here, and I've got 1 and 0 to fire and deactivate it. So if I press 1 to fire, and I press 0, you can see the thing's just supposed to deactivate like that, and it's just sort of disappeared. You also got track target and eye track, and these are different. If you also press 2 when it's fired, well, obviously there's no one to track. I think it's supposed to track me, but there's no one on the map. If I was to spawn a combine there, nope, it's not going for him either. Anyway, ignore that then. But there's also eye track, which tracks to where you're looking at, kind of like with the RPG rifle with the laser sight. So if I fire, I could have it fire to that building or over here, or fire directly where I'm looking at, like that. Yeah, and that's quite good if you just for personal defense. Or I've also got a tutorial earlier where I think I covered how to do it with wire, with beacons. I think it was on the wire beacon sensor and detection tutorial, and that's quite good. There's also the staff weapon here, which is just for, it's like a giant turret, and you can just stick it on there. It's a giant, and it's quite painful, but obviously they're offensive weapons. Moving on to tech, we've got cloaking. Now, a cloaking device speaks for itself pretty much, and there's also a mini version of this in the weapons, which is the Sodan cloaking, which I'm just going to demonstrate here. If you look at it in your inventory, it says there, primary to cloak yourself and secondary to uncloak. So obviously when you're using it, primary to cloak, now the screen will go blue, and you'll kind of be a bit shady to other characters, but doesn't really work that well. Then you can come back into reality with that. The cloaking device itself, if I was to just spawn a prop, PHX, general 1x1, and I'll spawn a 4x4 over here just for the sake of demonstrating something else that I'll get to in a minute. Cloaking device, if you stick it on something, you've got a choice of models and they're all a bit weird. But down the bottom there's some settings. Obviously you can select the height and the width and the radius of the cloaking. You can make it visible for the owner, so when I cloak it here, you can see it's kind of like it's kind of just a bit transparent for me, but if I was to disable that, you can see that I can't see it at all, and that's what it's like for other players when you don't have that enabled. Since it's still switched on, you can see it can't go through other objects, but it does cloak everything in its radius. If I was to enable phase shifting, which is that box there, and make it, what it does is it makes it able to be walked through, like it shifts it to another reality, as it were, in the show. So you can just pass that through items, and I find that quite useful for when people have like made bases and stuff, and you can just stick a chair on this and fly it through their wall, and they're like blah blah blah, rage. Moving onwards, there is this harvester device, which is from the Atlanta series again, used by the baddies. Suck and spit, as I'll demonstrate in a minute, is not just instructions for life. There's the auto weld, which just welds what you're pointing at, and beam always straight down. This strafe down. This is so, as opposed to like if this was on a slant, if this bob's on a slant, it wouldn't fire like directly in my direction. It would always just go straight down from point to point, which is usually best if you're mounting it on the bottom of a ship or something. But I'll demonstrate what it does. As you can see here, there's a nice beam of light. If I was to stand under this beam of light, I would be... There we go. I'm trapped inside the harvester now, and I can't get out in any form of way at all. I can't even... If I was to kill myself, I can't even kill myself. And if I was to spit, there we go, I've escaped. And that's what it's for. The only time I've ever used this is on space build servers, when I kind of just put myself inside a harvester device and I can fly a little tiny block like that to another planet, and I don't really get hurt much. Or to trap unwieldy players that no one likes. But I wouldn't do that. The iris tool. This is getting into a bit of onto things a bit. If you spawn, there's two types of iris, one for each series, of course. So first of all, there is the iris. There's the shield model, and there's ones for activate, deactivate, and just toggle. I find toggle's just easy, just so you can press buttons for everything. If you look at the outside of the ring and not through it, and you just click, it'll spawn in the Stargate directly in place, and that's good. And then you can just turn this on and off, and what this will do is, if it's on, when people come through a gate, through your gate, they'll just die upon impact, which is the point. It's like a shield, it's supposed to protect you. And there's two versions of this iris, and this is that one's my favourite, just for the effect. Looks kind of cool. And they protect you from invasion. Moving on, if I was to give this gate a name, I'm going to call it Gate 01. You can have these little devices called mobile DHDs, and they work like these DHDs, except that they're mobile. You can stick them on whatever, and you can put a keypad on it. So if I was to actually if I make a smaller model, if I was to put this on the back of this Stargate and then run over here, I can just press enter on my keyboard and it brings up the DHD. I've named the wrong gate. I've named that one. Right, so I can just stick on there, and then if I press enter, and I can dial the Stargate from back here, and that means that you can put that on vehicles and stuff, so you don't have to get out and dial a Stargate manually or anything. Moving onwards, there's the shield. The shield speaks for itself. You can pick the size, whether you want it to regenerate faster or to be able to take more hits. You can pick the colour it is. You can choose the model. You can choose whether the owner has any effect on it, whether you want effects to be shown. So I'm just going to spawn it here. There's also something whether or not you want to keep things in as opposed to keep things out. But there's a lot of settings. This is set to enter. So if I stand back a bit, you can see there's a little bubble appeared. I mean, you can go up to like shields that big, and they're like huge. There you can see the size of that. And obviously, since I'm the owner, I can just walk through it. I'll stick with the 100 one. And you can see here, there's I need a gun. I might as well go through something else then. There's 3 offensive weapons that don't really do anything else. There's Ronan's gun, which is from Atlantis series. There's the staff weapon, which is from the very old series, and then there's the Zat Niktal blah, which is kind of cool electro gun thing that'll kill a player in 2 shots. And you can still see that the shield stops gunfire from getting through when it's supposed to stop. There, you can see it stops me from getting through there. So if you want to keep players away from your stuff, or it's quite a good, useful for the trick. Shielding is. 0-point modules are giant energy devices that are normally just used on space build, and that's about it. Right, so that's the whole Stargate thing. There's also Asgard transporting in entities, which is, I think mine's outdated because I don't think this is right, but this can teleport players from one place to another, which I'll demonstrate really quickly. I'm going to stop the video and make this so I don't run out of time. Okay, what I've done here quickly, I'm going to I'm going to just set this to this, so target is that. Now I've got a beacon sensor that's outputting GPS coordinates of me, which is what the target finder is finding. This radio is attached to a GPS that's on top of that building, and that's transmitting the coordinates. So when you look at the Asgard transporter, you've got a number of things. It's got origin X, Y, and Z, and destination X, Y, and Z. Those are the coordinates of what you are teleporting to where you want it to teleport to. So obviously the origin is me, so I'm just going to wire this up to my target finder. And that's like that. And then destination X, Y, and Z is going to be this radio. So that's I forgot to update the radio. I accidentally set it to 1 channel, 1 value. So there we go. So that's receiving the 3 coordinates. So destination X is number 1. Destination Y is number 2, and destination Z is number 3. Okay, now, strangely, there's teleport everything, send, or retrieve. Now, I think it's just teleport everything that works, so I'm going to wire up to a number pad input at the back, and then I'm going to stand here, and hopefully when I press enter, that hasn't worked. So, I'm going to put send and wire that to the same thing, and now... There, I've been teleported. There, that's great. There are 2 ways you can control Stargates. As I've said, there's the manual way, where you use number pad inputs and stuff, but Stargates cleverly have a nice wire input as well. And you can, if I was to just look at the advanced one there, you can see dial address, dial mode, close, disable auto close, and they're just ways you can control the Stargate without actually running up to it and, pressing buttons and crying. You'll have all enjoyed this. I mean, I know it's been a bit of a hash since I've just been trying to go through so much as quickly as possible. But just play around, you know. It's not like a serious thing that you need to do. It's not like Wire where it's all that impressive. It's just a bit of fun. But hopefully you've enjoyed it, and you know, have fun with yourselves. If you want us to do anything else, seriously, I'll do anything. I'll just haul myself out on Gmod. But hope you all enjoy it, and until next time, goodbye.